Good morning. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Fire Commissioners. The date is September 6, 2016. The time is 9:05. Roll call.
Good morning. Let the record reflect Commissioners Ibarra, Glazer, Hara, and Nimberg are present, and we have a quorum, Madam President.
Thank you. Flag salute, moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in a moment of silence in honor of past and present members of the Los Angeles Fire Department who devoted their lives to the protection of our community. Thank you.
Okay. So we start with Commissioner comments.
Actually, last Monday, we had a good meeting at Kaiser Permanente with Chief Terrazas and Drs. Eckstein and Sanko, and I think it was quite productive, and hopefully Kaiser Permanente will be able to help fund the nurse practitioner response unit. And likewise, I'm going to actually be meeting with the community benefit lead person at Kaiser as well to see if we can get additional funding.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you.
Excellent. I attended the Gender Equality Day at the Getty House, and it featured fire and police, and it was pretty amazing. We had a lot of the young women from the fire camp, from the magnet schools. We had them from the academies and the cadet programs, and Commission President Ibarra was on the panel, along with Chief Crowley, Chief LAPD Chief Moore, and Chief Grimala. Yes, it was nice to see. It was pretty incredible, and everybody coming together and understanding the embracing of diversity as opposed to just accepting it, just absolutely embracing it. So it was very uplifting, and I appreciate it. And great job. Thank you.
Okay. Report of the Fire Chief.
Thank you, Madam President. On August 18th, I attended the Fire Rescue International conference in San Antonio. There we reviewed a lot of different topics. They included drones, the terrorist events that happened in Orlando and Paris. We also learned about the Affordable Care Act and the effort across the country to increase the community paramedicine program. So we came back with a lot of good ideas, and it was very beneficial that we were there. Also, I'd like to mention Dr. Hara said that the Kaiser meeting, and it was very, very productive. They do want to partner with us. Now we're trying to figure out a business model that makes sense. I do think that will add to our fleet of nurse practitioner response units. We are in conversations with other hospitals as well, and we're very optimistic about that effort. September 1st, I attended the Chief Officers Association retirement dinner at Tay's Restaurant. We honored Chief Rueda, Chief Storms, Chief Clafton, Chief McCarty. It was a great event. It was nice to see a lot of former LAFD people and to reminisce about old fires we went to and to find out what they're doing these days in their retirement. September 2nd, we had Hoops with the Troops. That was a basketball tournament that we participated in at the Port of Los Angeles Boys and Girls Club. Fine young sailors, played hard, played fair, beat us fair and square. I wish I could say we gave them a game, but we gave it 100% effort. I'll leave it at that. The team we played actually won the tournament, and there was a lot of them. There was like 20-something, and we had 8. And I got to say, Chief Crowley did great. Gail Sonata did great. We were just outnumbered, so that was fun. September 3rd, we attended the first annual Mayor's Reception as part of Fleet Week on the Battleship Iowa. Great event. They did have a little concert, and they recognized the good work of our military, and it was an outstanding opportunity to say thank you. And I want to remind everybody that we have the 9/11 ceremony coming up this week. It's 9/9 at 9 a.m. So it's this Friday at 9 a.m. at Hotchkiss, and we will have our annual 9/11 remembrance ceremony. That concludes my report.
So verbal report of the department for significant incidents, August 17th, September 3rd, 2016. No? Oh, okay. So medical report for the same time period.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chief Terrazas, Dr. Mark Extini, EMS Bureau Commander. Significant medical incidents since our last meeting. On August 14th, 72's first in at 8:30 p.m. There was a traffic collision with 4 patients, one of whom was a pedestrian, 3 critical, 1 stable. Incident was handled very well. On the 28th of August, in 98's first in, about 9:30 in the evening, there was a triple shooting in the Epacoima area. 2 patients subsequently were found in traumatic arrest, both of whom expired. 1 critical ultimately survived. On a brighter note, we had 2 saves that caught my attention since the last meeting. On August 17th, in the Westchester area, Fire Station 5's district, Engine 205 and Rescue 5 responded to a 40-year-old male who collapsed on a sports court. Bystander CPR was initiated. A return to spontaneous circulation was achieved in the field. 12 lead EKG was done. Patient was transported to UCLA for STEMI and was actually awake and talking upon arrival at the hospital. So all the links in the chain of survival were very strong to save the life of this 40-year-old gentleman. And then on August 30th, in the Encino area, Engine and Rescue 83 responded to a report of an active seizure, which with our new dispatch system is immediate dispatch. They found a 17-year-old male who quickly deteriorated to cardiac arrest, and also firefighters and paramedics did an outstanding job, able to also achieve return to spontaneous circulation and save the life of this 17-year-old male. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. So moving on to presentations, item 3. We have one, right?
Good morning. I am Daniel Curry, Captain, Los Angeles Fire Department. I'm the Public Information Officer. And we just heard Dr. Eckstein talk about a couple of saves in the last 2 weeks. We respond on approximately 1,000 EMS calls a day. And over the last 2 weeks, he highlighted 2 calls that we were good saves, as he reported. I'm here to talk about another good save that we had back on May 14th, 2016 at 10:44 a.m. Engine 18 and Rescue 18, located in the Granada Hills area on Balboa Boulevard. They were dispatched to Knollwood Golf Course to a reported unconscious person. Fortunately for this individual, he was on the 18th green. If there's one green that you want to be on a golf course when you have cardiac arrest, you want to be on the 18th green. That's closest to the clubhouse. This golf course is directly behind the fire station. LAFD EMS professionals were with a patient in 2 minutes and found an unconscious 47-year-old male with cool, pale, and diaphoretic skins. He was pulseless with agonal respirations. Pupils were fixed and dilated. He was hooked up to the monitor. Paramedics immediately recognized he was in a dangerous, life-threatening rhythm called ventricular fibrillation. Paramedics used their defibrillator, shocked his heart, and it immediately cardioverted his rhythm to a sinus tachycardia rhythm. Patient's mental status improved during transport to the emergency room, and he was talking to the paramedics by the time he arrived in the emergency room, and he recalled everything that happened prior to his collapse. I didn't mention one note. May 14th, 2016 happened to be Fire Service Recognition Day. At this time, I'd like to toss it over to Battalion Chief Steve Ruda, who was on duty that day as the battalion commander in Battalion 15.
Thank you, Captain Curry. Madam President, Commissioners, Chief, City Attorney, my name is Steve Ruda. I am a battalion commander, one of 3 in Battalion 15 in the Northwest San Fernando Valley. Karen Richter, John Potter, and myself have the honor of leading the firefighters and paramedics in the Northwest San Fernando Valley. And the greatest thrill as a battalion commander or as an officer of the LAFD is to rally behind the folks that work for us. And I'm here today to be able to have that honor on behalf of the battalion office and the people who we serve, that the members of Fire Station 18, as close as they were or as far away as they could have been, were able to do what we came on the job to do, save lives. And to acknowledge and have the commission and the fire chief acknowledge these men and women in the battalion, because if anyone was called and they were in the same spot, I can guarantee you they would have the same dedication and duty. So as their battalion commander, on behalf of the 3 other battalion commanders, we want to present them to you, and we wish them good cheer, good luck, and good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. At this time, I'd like to call up 4 members of Engine and Rescue 18 that are here today. I will read all 6 names, but I will present the 4 certificates to the members that are here. Please come up and stand to my right. The following members are being honored here. Captain 1 David Cohen, Engineer Wolf Jantz, Firefighter 3 Paramedic Daniel Lawless, Firefighter 3 Suthone Tingerd, Firefighter 3 Paramedic Robert Cannon, and Firefighter 3 Paramedic Robert Perez. I will read the certificate of appreciation. In recognition and sincere gratitude of your diligent efforts, expedient assistance, talents, and abilities, which contributed to saving the life of an LAFD patient on May 14, 2016, and ultimately resulted in his recovery, the Los Angeles Fire Department commends you for your extraordinary life-saving efforts to a citizen of the city of Los Angeles, presented this 6th day of September 2016.
I'd like to add my congratulations as well. You know, it's rare that we don't do this enough. We don't bring up companies, rescues, and engines enough to point out the good work that they do every day. We roll out every day approximately 1,250 incidents. We transport to the hospital approximately 625 people per day. We rarely get a chance to tell the success stories, and I can count on one hand the times we've done it. We're going to do a better job of that. One comes to mind is the marathon runner. And here's another one. Our people do this every day. They truly are unsung heroes. And I'm very, very proud to represent the men and women of the Los Angeles Fire Department. Congratulations.
One of the other members was mentioning the chain of saving lives. We were very fortunate to have the citizens, some of the workers at the golf course did a good job of guiding us in, and how important that is in the age of cell phones to have people that are waving us down and pointing us to where the individual is that needs help. And like he was saying, being on the 18th floor hole, he was very fortunate. But and also my experienced, hardworking crew did a great job.
Moving on to the consent agenda items.
Okay, move to adopt the recommendations for items 4A and B.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So our first regular agenda item is verbal report by the department on updates on the status of AVL and the CAD upgrade.
Good morning. Maggie Goodrich, CIO for Public Safety. I provided a handout earlier that is a just high-level project plan or roadmap of the various projects that we have going on as it pertains to CAD, AVL, and really anything dispatch. And then behind the sort of project plan or timeline there are just a couple of slides that speak to some of the details on the projects. So I'll just walk you through these at sort of a high level, and then I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. As you recall, we brought Gartner Consulting in to help us with a number of IT initiatives as it pertains both to all things related to MFC and dispatch functions, as well as general IT. So these are really all of the projects that Gartner is assisting with from a project management standpoint and also a quality assurance standpoint, which was one of the things that Commissioner Glazier had asked that we focus on as we complete these projects. The first project that's in progress, it's at the top of the timeline there, is the Mobile Data Network. This has also been referred to previously as the RNC replacement. This is the network that takes the data from CAD and pushes it out to the computer in the vehicles. So this is how the mobile data computer in the vehicles actually receives the data from CAD. This project is in progress. It's making good progress. Seems to be running on time so far. We have done the first cutover of the first of 4 channels that need to be cut over. We're allowing that to now basically sit for 30 days, make sure we've worked out any issues, and that all goes well with that, and that it's stable and running as expected. And then we will move on to the rest of the channels. The other part of that project is the replacement of the application that runs on that laptop in the vehicles on the mobile data computer. So far, the fire department has accepted that mobile application in terms of how it's configured for the fire department. They've performed extensive testing on that application, and that will be sort of part of the deployment over the life of this project. The plan is to finish the project by the end of this calendar year. The next one that's on there, I didn't give you really any details about it, but the Firecast map, I just thought I would mention, that's an mobile application that actually is to provide situational awareness to members of the command staff in the field, so that they'll actually be able to see CAD and calls for service on a map, on a tablet, or mobile device in the field, to give them just greater awareness of the details as they manage incidents. The next 2 are all about basically the enhancements to CAD and also the use of the AVL data. As you recall, the vehicles have been equipped with AVL capabilities for some time, but the question has been really, how do we better use that data now in the dispatch system? And so we're doing that in a couple of ways. One is working on just the mapping capabilities of CAD itself, and those are some of those enhancements that we spoke about last time I was here with Scott Porter from Gartner. And then the other is integrating the AVL data into those mapping capabilities so that it will use the nearest vehicle to make suggestions in terms of which units to dispatch to an incident. So those are also moving along well. The team is working well together. As you may recall, the ITA staff that were supporting CAD, as of July 1, the start of the new fiscal year, they were actually transferred into the fire department, so that we now have one IT team under the fire department umbrella that's managing all of this. And that's going very well as they focus especially on these 2 tasks in terms of using AVL data and making improvements to CAD. So it's good to have one team, one chain of command, everybody sort of working on the same page and not crossing wires or anything. So that's going very well. Those enhancements, the sort of mapping in general, will go through the end of the year, beginning of next year, and then the AVL work will go into really the first quarter of 2017. The next one I'll mention is fire station alerting. So this was one of the systems that was identified as needing to be replaced. And this is really meant to be sort of outside of CAD, but integrates with CAD in terms of, this is the system that is used in all of the fire stations to actually alert the station of an incident. So it does all of the gongs and bells in the station, and will open the doors and things like that. That system is in need of replacement. As you recall, we recommended that we go out to RFP for that. So the development of the RFP is beginning now. The plan is by probably January, we'll have the RFP complete and then release that shortly thereafter. So the plan is essentially to take the first half of 2017 to get through that procurement process, get the RFP out there, get the responses back, make a selection after a thorough evaluation, and then negotiate a contract. So the expectation will be then in the 17-18 budget, we would request funding to begin that project. And that's quite a large project, as you may know, if we're installing equipment not only in the dispatch center and integrating it with CAD, but then equipment in every fire station out there. So that will be quite a lengthy project. We expect it to take probably 12 to 18 months to complete it at least, but the first phase will need to be funded next fiscal year. And the last two on the timeline here are about CAD sustainability and the CAD data mart. So sustainability is really just about taking all of the small enhancements or changes to CAD that have been requested and just prioritizing those, making sure we have a good governance structure in place so that we have the right end users and subject matter experts in the room helping prioritize those things that need to be modified or enhanced in CAD. One of the things that's tied to that as well is the development and integration of TDS, the tiered dispatch system. That continues to go very well and is also sort of on that list to just be prioritized really on a weekly basis. And so again, having the centralized IT group to be able to be the recipient of that list and having all the end users involved to participate in prioritizing that list is really helping that process. And I think we have a good model in place. And then the CAD data mart is really about how you get access to the data in CAD. So once it's in there, if you need it, whether it be for FireStat or PulsePoint or whatever it may be, making sure, again, one central group is managing that data mart and managing sort of access to it and producing the data so that there's a model for how all of that is governed. And again, that's going well as well, and that's sort of an ongoing project that we'll spend the next few months on just making sure we've got the model right. But then those last two projects will sort of go in perpetuity, and that data will always be requested and enhancements will always be requested. So that'll just be sort of an ongoing part of support and maintenance. And then lastly is the IT strategic plan. So this is not on the timeline there, but on the third slide that I handed you, there's a little just bullet point about the strategic plan. And this is what Gartner's spending their time on now, is actually sitting with end users, business owners, and IT staff across the department, not just as it pertains to MFC or dispatch, but as it pertains to all technology department-wide, and really getting a good picture of just technology as it stands today, a real good as-is state, and then identifying either initiatives that should be implemented to maybe strengthen some of the IT systems or close some gaps where they might find them, is sort of next on the list. And then the plan really is to start by putting together, again, a good governance structure. And you'll hear me use that term a lot, but IT without governance is sort of IT in a vacuum. It means IT without the input of the business owners and the end users who really are the subject matter experts. So step one of this IT strategic plan is Gartner came back and said, okay, step one, before we even finish and tell you what we think the rest of the roadmap should look like, let's start with IT governance. So we're standing up a governance structure, which involves an executive steering committee and a working group. That working group meets weekly. The executive steering committee meets monthly to talk through IT initiatives and make sure that the priorities that, as it pertains to IT, are being set by the fire chief's strategic plan and by the direction of the chief and all of his command staff. And so we've started that process as part of the strategic planning effort. And the final report on the strategic plan itself and the recommendations that Gartner will make should be ready by about mid-October. So we expect that probably by the end of October we can come back and report on that.
Sorry, just this is great. Thank you. One quick question. The improvements to telephony, what do those fall under on here? Is that its own sort of separate? I know that's a joint issue going on with PD, but just sort of curious, does that fall under any of these, or would that be kind of its own little?
We can add it to this, certainly. It's just another
Separate.
IT project.
What
We
is
are treating it
telephony?
separately. So this is the infrastructure to support the 911 calls coming in. So we are working with the vendors to do a couple things. One is what we had identified early on was that today the police and fire are on two separate 911 sort of call taking systems. So as the calls come in, police uses one. When they want to transfer a call to the fire department, that call actually has to go out to a central switch to the carrier, back through another switch, and then into the fire department, even though we're all sort of here in close proximity. So the idea is to get us all onto one system, both departments, to eliminate that switching time, and also prepare some of the infrastructure and systems that will be necessary for what is often referred to as next-gen 911. That's the idea of being able to not only receive phone calls, but down the line be able to accept text messages or photos or video. So this will sort of prepare us for that. That idea of next-gen 911 is really several years out still. There's a lot the state has to do in terms of infrastructure to provide that across the state before we would move to it. But this will at least set us up to be able to do that. Here, the police department is looking at actually coming on to the phone system that the fire department uses today. It'll require the fire department to upgrade to just the most recent version, and then the police department would make that switch, and that would get both departments on one system. We should have a final proposal from the vendor in the next couple of weeks on that. I'll see a presentation on that when they're ready. And then that is something that typically the state 911 fund would pay for. So once we see what that quote comes in at, and we'll spend some time just talking with the state to see if hopefully the funding allocation that the state has set aside, because they use a formula for how much each city or agency will receive. So hopefully what the state's done in terms of math to figure out how much of an allocation we'll receive is going to line up with what the vendor is proposing, and if not, we'll sit down and hash that out. So we should have that in a few weeks.
Great, thanks. And just to put a finer point on that, even the telephony, as sort of technical as it sounds, has the capacity, when we actually are able to do that combination of instantly saving 5 seconds of time on call processing time, for no effort, right? It's just like it's an automatic 5 seconds of savings, because that switching time, there's a delay there, and then there's also the ability to get the information directly from PD, from the initial call taker, to transfer it over, so you're actually saving additional time on re-asking somebody like, where are you, and pulling all the information over. So that's it sounds technical, but this stuff all has. This stuff all can result in one big deal in terms of how quickly we're able to respond. I also just always feel like it's worth noting that these things are not things that people see in the public, but when you combine all these things together, what you get is a significantly upgraded service from our department, whether it's faster response times from call processing or better situational awareness from our commanders in the field, or even an improvement in quality of work, or not quality of work, working conditions for our members with fire station alerting, because with fire station alerting, you have the capacity to actually target the alerting. So instead of all the paramedics being woken up in a dorm, you can actually target the 2 that you want to get out. And that sounds like a small thing, but I know for our folks in the field, that is a big deal. The idea that all the lights don't turn on everywhere if they don't have to get up, particularly at the busy places like Nines. So I remain excited about these changes, and again want to just say my thanks to you and the rest of the team for moving this stuff forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Yeah. So moving along to item B, which is report by the department on the restatement of the Second Amendment to the agreement between LAFD and Physio Control, Inc.
Good morning, Commissioners, Fire Chief, City Attorney. My name is Bill Jones. I'm a Senior Management Analyst with the ASB, or Administrative Services Bureau. I oversee contracts, grants, and EMS billing. Before you today is the restatement and Second Amendment to Agreement C117907 between the Los Angeles Fire Department and Physio Control. This contract is intended to extend the current contract that's in place for a period of 3 years and add to the ceiling so that we can procure new software and equipment for that term. I'm here to answer your questions.
Thanks. My question is, this contract is supposed to include some significant software upgrades to our EPCR system, I believe.
The contract itself does not include or name any software or equipment per se.
Okay.
But that the contract, there is a policy and procedures that goes along with this contract where it is understood that new equipment will be rotated every 3 years and that software upgrades will be provided by the department or by the vendor at periodic times during the contract.
All right, and what remedy do we have if the software upgrades are not provided in the expected schedule?
We have under Section 8 of this agreement, under compensation, Section 8.1, where we have the right to withhold, and the vendor has 60 days to cure any services or provisions, services that have not been provided to the department.
Okay, so we're behind on some upgrades now for this software. So I guess my question is, were we then able to withhold compensation as a result of not receiving the upgrades that were expected?
I would have to defer to the city attorney on that one, only from the standpoint that, again, the contract itself is more interested in continuing the services, but does not specify a specific version control of the software. We would have to look at the fact that we do have certain equipment that software must match with that equipment. And so we'd have to look at that.
Sounds like a city attorney question for later, because there's probably like notice periods and times to cure and blah, blah, all of that stuff. So city attorney maybe later.
I can certainly follow up on
Yeah.
that. It would require having the attorney who handled the contract meet with the fire department and get all of the details about what software has not been provided to the department yet, and then move forward with a plan.
Okay, I guess I'm reluctant to approve a 3-year contract if there are concerns about whether or not the software upgrades that we're expecting are going to be provided and on the schedule that we want them to be provided. So, not being an attorney, it's hard for me to kind of in my very layman's reading of the contract, it was very hard for me to look at that and say, we're protected if we aren't getting what we need. So since I couldn't see that in there, it's hard for me to vote for a 3-year extension of this. So I don't really know what to do right now about that, but I don't really personally, and this commission may choose to do something different, but my concern is about approving a 3-year contract for something which I don't at this point know if we're going to get what we need. We might, and certainly, my understanding is that Ciencio is diligently working on providing that upgrade. But as with many things in tech, sometimes you get what you need, and sometimes you don't. So I don't know if you have any suggestions as far as what we could do here today to try to protect ourselves or give ourselves some options here. If 12 months from now we find that we're not getting what we need.
Certainly, Commissioner. I think along those lines, we certainly could work with the office of the CAO's office. They will receive this report next and prepare their report for the City Council. My recommendation would be that the department continue to work with the City Attorney's Office, and that's subject to approval by the City Attorney's Office, that those clauses and your concerns are addressed. I think that one of the things that I do feel strongly about is that we do need this contract to go forward. Without this contract, the department would have no option to collect its EPCR information. So we do need at least some provision to continue the contract for a period of time.
Okay. Could we move it forward for a period of a year?
Well, that would require an amendment to the contract that's been proposed.
So can we, do we need to approve it today? Can we have it come back next week? I mean, not for our next meeting?
This contract does expire on September 23rd, and so we have been working with the CAO's office to work on a report in advance to have this expedited through council, subject to, of course, the changes to the provisions that are being discussed here. But the contract is expiring on September 23rd.
Councilor, do you have any recommendations on what we could do here to try to ensure that we are not entering into 3 years and then we have no ability to respond if we're concerned? We have concerns later.
I think even if you enter into this particular contract or approve this contract and move it forward, the contract itself provides for certain remedies. But I think your concern is simply that under the existing contract that's set to expire in a couple of weeks, the vendor is still somewhat delayed in some of its agreements to provide software updates. And so now we're going to extend it even farther, our relationship with that particular vendor. So I don't think that approving the contract today is going to prevent the city from seeking any remedies should the department become dissatisfied with the production under the contract. I don't think it does that. I think that it allows for that. This particular contract allows for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, my concern would be that if you delay approval and move it forward, then you'll have a gap.
So I guess another concern is if we're having problems under the existing contract, then, just extending the same contract, and maybe this is something that because of the time frame, we should have another body look at it. Like, who else needs to approve it? CEO and the city council. So maybe they can sort of negotiate something else in here. Or is that going to be too late?
I'm not sure it's advisable to have you act on it today and then have somebody else make that decision. Right. I mean, I think if this commission has concerns about the terms and protecting the department, then perhaps it should be continued. And if there are issues that need to be resolved in the interim, that you resolve them in consultation with those members of the city attorney's office that you worked with to prepare it, and the CAO's office.
Yeah, I know.
What is the consequence of not approving it and then having it?
I'm sorry, Commissioner.
What are the consequences if we don't approve it today, and you have to go back and you delay it? Is there any way of extending it, like provisionally, for until it's approved by the commission and the city?
I could probably see a couple of issues. Our biggest issue would probably be how to continue to collect EPCR data should the vendor say, with no contract, I can no longer provide you services. I think I think there are other remedies that we can address. I think that we do have some time to address those through the Office of the City Attorney as well as through the CAO in their preparation for the City Council. If we were to have that information, one of the things that I do want to express is that this is a very complex agreement, and one of the things that, you know, as you know about technology, as you're developing technology, one of the reasons the contract was written the way it was simply to allow greater latitude to the city to acquire the latest technology as opposed to locking us into a set path. For example, if we were to acquire a specific device and we were to utilize that device and identify that early on, we would be locked into that technology. An example of that would be through the process that we've gone through. The selection of the devices. A new device came on the market after we had already been looking at one of the devices that was being considered. And because of that, we were able to take advantage of the latest technology simply because of the latitude that this contract does allow. So there's pros and cons to both of your question, Commissioners. You know, we have remedies, but there are liabilities that would exist.
Are they currently working on the upgrades that are delayed?
I believe they are. I would defer to the doctor to address. He's been in recent discussions with the vendor.
Right. Just to be clear, sorry, before you leave, just to be clear, you know, I'm all for having latitude, but I'm also for accountability. If there are assurances given that certain things are going to happen along a certain time frame, and they don't happen on that time frame, then there's got to be some consequences for that, or some accommodations that are made. And I also understand that tech is complicated and things go wrong, but we're paying for something based on assurances that are made. So, you know, I'm you know, Ciencio has been a good partner for us for a long time, and I believe, but at the same time, I want to make sure that we are getting what we're paying for, and that that relationship is not being taken advantage of.
Understood, Commissioner, and we will certainly convey that to the CAO and work with the City Attorney to incorporate something into this agreement.
Okay.
Thank you. Doctor.
If I may, Dr. Mark Eckstein, the EMS Bureau Commander, just to echo some of Bill Jones' comments, and Commissioner Glazer, I completely agree with I share your concerns. We looked at this. We want to provide the best tool for our members and assure quality patient care, QI, and billing. So this having a functional electronic patient care report system with software and hardware is integral to our mission. We have been working, as you know, Ciencio was purchased by Physio-Control about a year ago. We've had an excellent relationship with both companies, particularly Physio-Control, for many, many years. They're also manufacture our monitor defibrillators that our paramedics carry. The EMS Bureau, my staff and I met with leadership from Physio-Control last week for about 6 hours. We came up with a list of 53 items that in different priority categories that we need to see with the new software, and they were extremely gracious and accommodating. And I look at this as well. We want to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money with tight budgetary times, and I'm personally convinced they will meet our needs, and we plan to roll this out in January. New software, new hardware. It's NEMSIS compliant. It's version 6.0. Sister agency, LA County Fire, who's new to the EPCR business, is also rolling out the same version. But personally, again, I share concerns, but I think the company will accommodate us, will meet our needs, and I think the field will find the new software and hardware much more user-friendly, greatly enhanced connectivity, but we'll still retain the ability to customize the software to meet our needs, which is one of the most appealing factors of the entire operation.
Yeah.
You know, the contract itself really just establishes the relationship between the department and the city and the vendor. And within the contract, it indicates that a project plan needs to be created, and it needs to set forth timelines and such. Ultimately, if those timelines and representations are not fulfilled, then the city would proceed as if there was a breach. And I think your question is simply, should we reinitiate a 3-year extension to a contract where there are some concerns about the company's ability to perform under the existing contract? That's a policy decision for this body.
How hard is it to just do an interlineation and just say 1 year instead of 3? Because that's really all we're talking about is
I don't think
we've
it
had.
would be difficult. I don't think it would be difficult to do.
I mean, I think can we do it now?
Simply because I did not
Can we do it now?
negotiate this contract, nor did I prepare this document. So,
Or can we approve it with the provision that it should be redrafted for 1 year instead of 3?
you can approve it with a recommendation that it be redrafted and have it move forward, and see whether the council will accept that recommendation from the board.
Because I think that's the compromise. Because I also feel like we need to sort, if we've had, and I know that I've heard that there has been problems with this, over the course of the relationship between the city and this company, that we do at some point need to sort of assert ourselves. So I think that that's the compromise that I would propose, is to give direction that it be redrafted for 1 year instead of 3.
So there would need to be a motion to approve it as amended with that particular amendment, and then the recommendation would move forward from this body.
Okay.
May I ask a question? Does the company offer explanations as to why they're delayed providing the services? Is it because of the merger of the companies?
They weren't that specific. It's basically just new software, new technology, better connectivity. I think it's like anything else. Anytime there's a new rollout of a new operating system, there are almost inherent delays, whether it's private or government. My sense is they've been willing to meet all of our needs, given our demands, and I have every reason to believe that they'll meet our needs. Again, I share your concerns. I think the product has worked well, and I'm also very convinced, based on what we've seen so far, this new software and hardware will make the job of our members much easier to quickly collect critical patient data, and then subsequently for us to perform QA activities and billing on the downside.
So even with the delay in the services, you still believe that you'll be able to roll it out in January?
Yes, ma'am. It was initially scheduled for September, and I believe the schedule right now is to start the incremental rollout in January. The plan is to have all the training citywide completed by April 1st. That's for new hardware and software.
Doctor, do you have an opinion as to whether it should be approved with 3 years versus 1 year?
If this was my own company, I'd probably split the difference. I would extend it, but I would make it a shorter contract.
Okay.
I think 3 years is a long time in the technology business, quite frankly. And I think it shows that we're serious. We want to make sure that they're fulfilling their obligations. I think your concerns are very well taken.
Okay.
All right. So, sorry. Please.
That's a concern I've had in the past with these contracts, because we have the ability to do 3 years 6 times, and that's just such a long period of time with one company. Is this a local company or state? It's in the state or in the city?
It's probably
They're out of Redmond, Washington.
I beg your pardon?
They're out of the Seattle area, Washington State.
Okay, and and my reason for the long-term contracts is that we don't allow new companies in our area to be able to possibly gear up and apply for these contracts. I'm not sure what the evaluation process is, but it sounds like, I'm not sure. We would have known this before now, I guess, if there was some kind of an evaluation process in place.
Yeah, well, these are very specialized, so making sure that we have somebody who does this and who does this for a client that's big, as big as we are, is probably not easy. So that's another concern, about even if we were to reject this this contract entirely, like how would we find somebody? But on the other hand, we're a great client. We're very big. This is a lot of money, and so somebody should, if somebody has this contract, they should work a little bit harder, I think, to service us.
Yeah, I agree. We made that
point. Not that we wouldn't approve this contract, but in future we need to begin to look at state and local vendors to find out if there are any available, because one of our goals is to employ people in the state, use our city money to employ people in our city. So that's my concern. It's not that the contract. I realize now this is short time, so we do have to almost approve something because we can't have the vacancy of services in this particular place. But I'm very concerned about the evaluation process that's ongoing and being reported back with these contracts, and that the contracts are for such long periods of time. And I'm not sure when this contract went out to bid the first time. How many years have we had this company?
We've been with them since, well, we implemented EPCRs in January of 2011. So we're going on 6 years.
Okay. So, if we do 3 more years, it's like 9 years, and we've never really looked at or put out a bid to see if there's anyone else available. We may still end up with the same company, but I just think it's only fair to our city that we look for the best company that's available at the time instead of continuing to roll with the same company over and over and over. We do this not just with this contract, but we've done it with others. And so I think we should begin to look at it in a different way.
The other thing, if I may, the company has 2 of their vendors on site with us almost full time. So they've been extremely responsive very, very quickly, not just to make modifications to the software based on the needs of the MS Bureau and the members in the field, but also running data. So we've been very pleased with their service. I think the concerns are appropriate. I strongly, respectfully recommend we renew the contract and consider maybe a shorter duration. I think would be prudent.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Woods, great. Just to your point, particularly on the technology contracts, I think that's really where having a chief technology or chief information officer makes a big difference on this stuff, because then you have somebody whose sole job is to look at these things and say, what else is in the marketplace? Should we continue this? Should we go out to bid on this? And so I'm very optimistic and hopeful. Cautiously optimistic. We're going to have somebody in that spot who can specifically answer the question that you're asking here, which is, should we continue to go into auto 3 years, or should we be looking for stuff out there? What else is out there? So I'm hopeful that will come soon. I know it is in the plan to bring that person on, and I think that hopefully will help answer your question specifically as it relates to technology companies. On this one in particular, I'm willing to go 18 months if you guys are willing to do so. So I'd like to move the contract, but with the amendment. Do I need to actually get an amendment moved and approved and then? Okay, so I'd like
No, you just need to move it.
as amended.
Propose
Okay.
the amendment.
All right, so I'd like to move this contract with the amendment that this be for a period of 18 months, with all other terms remaining the same. If that's okay, although I think Bill had something to say about that.
Should I second it?
Well,
Yes, Commissioner, I'd like to explore options with the city attorney that's on this particular one agreement. One of the things that I do know will impact the firm is the fact that they actually lease these devices from the company, and so by shorting the term, we may be affecting the cost of the lease. But I can certainly work with our city attorney on this to, again, address failures or shortcomings of the company during the initial period to...
Well, I mean, if the best we can do is that we have a work plan presented from the company, I mean, maybe the best we can do is that we ask the work plan for the company come back and we're paying close attention to that and we're looking for a cure if we're not meeting the work plan. I don't really know what to do. I think we're stuck between a rock and a hard place here.
And it seems like it would be costly, now that he points that out, that if we make the changes. But I think it's good that we give warning that 3 years from now, we don't want to have the same process.
Well, also, we shouldn't be handed this 3 weeks before it needs to be renewed. I mean, I don't think that gives us any ability to make adjustments.
Correct. Apologize, I slipped my thought there. So I think one of the things that we can do is work to bring information back to this commission, periodic reviews. One of the other things that we may also want to consider, and it's one of the reasons that we were pushing hard for this agreement to go forward with the Intermedics or ADPI agreement, was that the two are really married. One feeds to the billing cycle. Within the Intermedics agreement, we do have a performance penalty, and that may also be something that we can consider with the city attorney's office with regards to this agreement, that for not meeting certain milestones, would there be a performance penalty applied to the firm?
So I think if we're approving this, then we can approve it with the recommendation that the CAO consider a performance penalty. But other than that, okay.
You can do that, or a shorter contract duration.
Okay.
That they consider it and that be discussed. You're not moving it with a shorter period. You're
Understood.
Moving it with a recommendation that it be considered.
And that the CIO then work it out with you guys as far as, as far as how we're going to monitor this to make sure we're getting what we're supposed to get.
That can happen. And then the CAO's office, in conjunction with the city attorney's office, can assist in preparing whatever additional information is necessary to be presented before the full council, because it's going to be the council that's going to ultimately make the decision as to whether or not this is approved.
Okay. So I think I understand. Then in that case, then I will move the contract as stated with the recommendation that the CAO consider additional penalties for lack of performance, rather, in the event that the planned upgrades are not delivered on time. I think that's the best we can do.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner.
So moving on to item 5C, which is report by the department on the status and disposition of LAFD matters considered and referred to other committees, departments, etc.
Madam President, Commissioners, Chief, City Attorney, and Stephanie, my name is Graham Everett, Assistant Chief and the Chief of Staff. With your review of City Council committees and activities report for the period of August 8th through the 24th, within your report, there are several items that were moved to Public Safety Committee and also to full council. There is one update. The MICLA funding that went to council was approved by council and has recently been signed by the mayor's office, so that will allow the department to move forward with the helicopter and the 15 rescue ambulances. And other than that, that was the most significant of any report back, so if you have any questions, I can certainly try to answer.
Was there another thing having to do with Medi-Cal and Medicaid funds?
So that is still, that is the IGT transfer program. And it's submitted to the mayor's office, but I haven't heard back yet. Last day to act for the mayor is September 12th. So we haven't heard back if they have signed off on that yet or not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, move to receive and file item 5C.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5D is report by the department on the fiscal year 2016-2017 budget.
Good morning, Emilio Rodriguez, Administrative Services Bureau, Budget Section. Again, presenting basically a brief overview of the 16-17 adopted budget, which went into effect July 1st. The Mayor and Council approved the budget totaling $680 million, including appropriations of $633 million for department's operational budget, MICLA funding of $41 million, roughly half of that, of which is going to purchase a new helicopter for Air Ops, and an additional $5.8 million in field resources pending the receipt of, as you had mentioned, Commissioner, intergovernmental transfer revenues. That item is currently in the unappropriated balance, and a report has gone to council recently.
And is that the Medi-Cal Medicaid funds?
I believe so, yes, $5.8 million. Overall, it's a budget increase of $33 million, including the MICLA funds. We're also able to convert various resolution authorities in the budget. Reso authorities are basically approved year to year by council to a regular authorities and add them to our base budget. On top of that, adding 34 new positions for FY 17-18. The attachment before you provides a summary of the items included in the department's budget request last year, in relation to what was actually adopted. And just to go over some of the approval highlights, there were 4 recruit
academy classes to train 230 new firefighters this year. Restoration of 2 engine companies, 69 and 209. Continuation of innovations, including the fast response unit and nurse practitioner unit. We have 1 team each continued this year. The replacement of 3,000 handheld radios. This is being done through, I believe, a vendor financing plan in conjunction with LAPD for better pricing opportunities. Protective gear that's been deferred to a point where we, really had to move forward. Face pieces, turnouts, body armor. We're going to seek funding for the second cycle for those items in this next year. And functional transfer of dispatch operations, as Ms. Goodrich had mentioned earlier. From ITA, there were 23 positions overall. So we're currently in the process of preparing the first financial status report for the mayor and council for this budget year. We will subsequently report to this commission on that. And we're also in the process of compiling the preliminary budget request for 17-18. We'll bring those forward to the fire chief's office soon. And we'll also report to the commission on that in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Couple of questions. So I see the sobriety unit was not funded.
Correct.
Chief, is there like another plan for?
We're funding that through the innovation program, and that's a partnership. So with county health.
Okay, so
it is happening.
Yeah, it's happening. They haven't built the facility yet. It's not done. Yep.
Okay, so even though it's not in here, the innovation fund will give us money for that. And so same thing with the MPRU and the fast response vehicle. It's only as I see that we're only funding what we have now. So
yes, it'll keep 101 going forward, but in the UB account that we got money from the IGT transfer money, that'll fund additional things. That'll fund additional NPRUs as we get more partnerships with Kaiser and other hospitals. It'll fund the CAD enhancements that Ms. Goodrich talked about earlier. So I think that amount is about $5.8 million. So that's all allocated, and we're waiting to hear back from council if that's been approved.
Okay.
I have a question. See, this I guess is for the chief. Is the nurse practitioner's response unit still a pilot program?
We haven't taken off the pilot label yet. It started in January. I think it was a 1-year pilot, so we have a few more months to go. The metrics still are very encouraging. It's still about 55% of the time we treat and release on scene. That hasn't changed much since we started the program. We anticipate it'll continue as we add additional NPRUs.
Oh, okay. My concern was that when it's a pilot, I know that the selection of people for the process is different. But when it's no longer a pilot, then it has to go through other channels for selection of personnel.
That's correct. We'll have to meet at the table with UFLAC to negotiate how we're going to select personnel for that apparatus as we move forward.
And I see that you have funding for additional people.
We do have money in that IGT transfer allocated for that purpose.
Oh, okay. And the other question I had was about funding and unappropriated balance for additional field resources. What is that?
That's essentially the same IGT item.
Oh, it's the same one.
Correct.
Oh, but just doesn't have. It doesn't say where it's going.
Broadly stated.
That's good. Thank you very much.
Sure. One question, not for answer today, but just to put on our list is. It's always good to see resources being restored. My question that I would be interested in hearing from our emergency operations folks is, how do we decide where to put resources when we bring them back? So don't answer that now. It's not on the agenda. But with a nod to our city attorney. But if we could add that to our future our report back maybe in the next 90 days, I'm particularly interested how that relates to the standards of cover. So I look forward to hearing from you.
Absolutely.
On that. Thanks. Not from you, but from you.
And I neglected to say that I'm really happy to see that we have more money funding for the recruit training programs. Mm-hmm. That's exciting.
you.
Okay.
No. Can you move?
Move to adopt the recommendation for item 5E. Oh, sorry, 5D.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. 5E is report by the Department on Fire Prevention Inspection Activity, first and second quarters, January 1 through January 30th.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chief Terrazas, Julie, John Vidovich, Deputy Chief, Fire Prevention Bureau. The report before you is our quarterly report on fire prevention activities from January 1st through June 30th. The report was formatted based on input requested by this commission the last time we presented. So what I want to do is just highlight, it's a 32-page report. I'm not going to go over it page by page, but I'll answer questions. But I just want to highlight some of the requests made at the last commission meeting or the last time we presented. If I can turn your attention to page 3 on the Coupa section. We addressed the overdue inspections of Coupa when our new Coupa manager, Mr. Royce Long, took over. That inspections that were in the system, we continue to trend down in a positive way. What I do want to highlight, though, is our administrative enforcement order, known as the AEO. Since Mr. Long has been in place, we've really been aggressive in collecting revenues on our violators, and to date, or when we submitted this report, it was at $297,000. We're now approaching close to $400,000. What that means is this: that money can be used to enhance the Coupa program. With the approval of the fire chief, we've earmarked that money for new technology for our Coupa program, as well as vehicles for our Coupa inspectors. And that means the 40 additional vehicles allocated out of MICLA will not have to go to Coupa, they'll go to the rest of inspectors. So this coming fiscal year, we should have 55 new vehicles in the Fire Prevention Bureau. The other significant component here is a $1.2 million judgment from the Allen Co. settlement, and $600,000 of that settlement is coming back to the fire department into our Coupa program over the next 5 years. Again, that's going to be used for additional staffing of enhancing our Coupa program to protect the environment. On page 5 of this report, Commissioner Glazer, you had asked about the high number of IOD members off. So what we did here is within the industrial commercial section, we've had since January 1,239 lost work days just in that section of the Fire Prevention Bureau. As you know, we don't have constant staffing, so we've allowed our members to work their RDO. We've used V hours to help with that, and for the most part, we can see by utilizing that formula, we stayed pretty much on track on staying within our inspection goals. On page 9, again, you had asked for an early warning system to ensure that we never fall 10,000 inspections behind. And with that, we've created a chart that shows our 0 to 3, 3 to 6, and so forth. So right now, we're trending at 684 inspections at the 0 to 3 month range that are overdue. I highlight that because the NFPA does give us some latitude with that 15-month range, but our supervisors and battalion chiefs and section commanders look at data every week, and I've given them the autonomy to move resources within their sections to do the work. So we'll continue that in that alignment. On page 11, this was something that we did in collaboration with FireStat and Ms. Drew Steinberg. We prepared for our last FireStat, and Ms. Steinberg really wanted to know, the metrics of fire preventions and the number of hazards and violations corrected. So that's what that graph indicates. One thing we did see is we were still having trouble doing our re-inspections on a timely manner. I think with continued focus, and once we add the 6 new inspectors here in the next few weeks that have been vacant due to retirement, we should catch up on those as well. On page 12, in regards to our brush inspections, and this data was collected out of our a new iPad-based FIMS program. As you recall, we did not have the ability to detail members or firefighters from the field, so we did it with fire inspectors on duty and then volunteers from the field. Very proud of the fact that we've done a real good job in our brush inspections despite some challenges, but our new technology has proven to make us more efficient. And I see in the future that we're really not going to need to detail 42 members from the field to do this work in the future because of the enhanced technology. On page 13, again, is the public safety section, lost work days of 642 days in the last 6 months. Page 17 is the early warning, again, for overdue inspections. And we're trending a little high there. I do have some concern about the overdues in the public safety section. Specifically in our schools and churches unit, when we did Operation Catch-Up within the first quarter, you can see that we conducted a fair number of inspections, and only in the second quarter we did 7% of our inspections. So, you know, we have to pay attention to that unit specifically. Again, page 19 is the public safety sections, hazards and hazards corrected. Again, collaboration with FireStat. And lastly, I guess really focusing on page 30 is overall, the overall lost work days collectively in the Fire Prevention Bureau were 17% in the second quarter and 15% in the first quarter. And that's usually about the trend, how many people we have off roughly within the Fire Prevention Bureau, 15 to 18%, pretty consistent. I say that because we're going to have to figure out a way how to manage that, whether we hire additional inspectors to serve as the bench, where they don't actually have an assigned district, but they're assigned to the fire marshal's office, so she can direct them where they need to go. So I think that's something I'll be talking to Chief Crowley on my recommendation, of course, with Chief Terrazas. With that, I'm here to answer any additional questions you may have.
Well, first, because I think this is the last time we'll see you as Fire Marshal, just want to commend you on this. Commend you on the amazing work that you've done in this bureau. It's,
Thank you.
you know, there's so many challenges when we took over the commission, and it's night and day. So I commend you for your leadership, for your hard work, and you know, we're going to miss you. We know that Chief Crowley's going to do great, 'cause she always does great, but you did great too. So just want to get that on the record because
Thank you.
It's very sincere.
Ditto for me. This is an excellent report. The data in here is great. You know, I really appreciate the transparency in here, and I know that making data, being able to visualize data in this way is not an easy thing. And so, to you and your crew who put this together, this is great. I think my only suggestion on the data is on the overdue, maybe turn the colors red when you get to the end. Instead of yellow and green, just to sort of reflect the the urgency. A small stylistic suggestion. Now I have some actual questions on the content. However, so I'm glad you brought up the public safety unit. Specifically, schools and churches. You know, I was noticing in there's just dramatic variation in there. I certainly understand in some of these IOD why they would have only 2 of their inspections done in the second quarter, but there's another inspector who does not seem to be IOD, and I don't know if I'm missing something here, but why were 87 inspections done? This is
What page?
sorry, page 16. And you've got somebody, let's see, if you're lettering them from the top, A, B, C, D, E. District E, it looks like we went from 87 to 2 inspections there, and that 0 probably has a big impact on our number. But overall, can you talk to me a little bit about that, or who supervises this section?
The section is Chief Boyd, and the unit is Captain Carpenter.
Why were only 2 inspections done in District E?
Great question.
What is the? What does it make sense for the? Should we ask the battalion chief, or is I don't know if that chief is here to be able to discuss the issue. No.
Not
okay.
here. Not present.
All right. Maybe in the future, that's what we should do. It does really.
We shouldn't talk about personnel.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So, I'm not sure who the right person is to actually discuss the unit. Maybe it's you. For whomever it needs to discuss it or talk about it, my question would just be why we went from 87 to 2 here.
Commissioner, if I can interject, that's the value of fire stat. When we throw stats up on the wall across the board throughout the department, we're comparing performance and asking questions, and that's an ongoing process. There's a lot of things that could have occurred there. Perhaps the inspector was off with an injury. Perhaps it was vacant. Whatever the situation is, we need to use the metrics as a tool to address those types of performance issues.
Fair enough. So generally speaking, I guess I have grave concerns about that. I think schools and churches is particularly close to my heart because I have a lot of people that work for me that work in schools. And my children are in schools, and lots of children are in schools. And so these are children that we are talking about here. I would ask that some attention be paid as to what's going on with this, and whatever accountability needs to be put into place, that it be put into place here, because this is it's concerning to me. I think we've seen so much improvement in so many of these areas here, and the recovery from the backlog, I think, has been nothing short of an incredible piece of work. So I think it's important that as the transition happens here, that we don't see a backslide here on this. I would love to hear in the future what we think we can do about that. I think the other thing that's worth pointing out here is, there is dramatic differences across how each of these districts is structured. And it makes it very hard to do an apples-to-apples comparison. I think you've got cases where there's somebody, who's done more work than anybody else here. So you have a district here, 566 in the district, 217 are completed, but it's very hard to know, were those a bunch of little districts? Were they big districts? Is that person actually exceeding expectations by doing 217 versus an average here of significantly less? Or are they behind? So these are all sort of management questions. I think it makes it impossible for us as a commission to look at data like this and say, is this going well or is it not going well? So I know that's something that continues to be an effort, is to look at how we try to build some consistency into these districts so we can kind of see that apples-to-apples question. So again, I hope that that's something that is able to move forward at some point.
While he's going through the
Yeah,
papers,
that's it
maybe
for
I
now.
could just, could it be that the flexibility that they've had in moving people around to try to do the catch-up thing that they were doing has allowed some of the areas not to do as much work as others?
Well, that's a great question. And if you look at page 16 specifically, if a member was off duty, or the position was vacant, or the member was detailed, we put that in the notes. So when the commissioner focused on the member who conducted 2 inspections,
That member was here at work. He was not detailed.
So all of these
There
are
seems to be some. I don't understand. Like the commissioner, I don't understand how they were at work only doing school inspections, and they didn't do but that many. If they were only doing school inspections, that's my question is, were they on? Perhaps that's the flexibility issue. I think is something that we need to look at, especially under public service safety section, because that involves a lot of schools and other places that really cannot afford to have flexible changes. They need to be really on top of it on a daily basis, as opposed to moving people around. And I realize, and I'm sure that we won't have this in the future because you've already got us all caught up and we're moving ahead. So that will probably not be the case. But I think that might have contributed to some of the issues, in that there were areas that were very, very low, had very little inspection, and that they were moved around so that they could do that. Or if something else comes up, because there are other things that are not on these charts that they do in the inspection department. And I always say I can't seem to see them, but they're little emergencies that come up that they have to run out and do here, there, for different kinds of different events, which I know they do because I've been to some of those with them. But they don't show up actually as a on-site school visit or a event visit, or the in-between stuff, I think, that also uses their time, but I've never been able to really find them in the charts. These charts are beautiful, and someone put a lot of time into doing this work.
I do have a question.
But the other question I had is this the total number of schools and churches in the whole city? Or is that just the time for this report that were inspected or were up for inspection? Like 3,600.
That is for the entire city.
That's
what's
the
in our
total amount that they should be inspecting for the whole year.
Mhm.
Not on a yearly basis, however.
Annually.
But do we have enough people in that department?
Schools, we could use additional inspectors there. I've said that several times. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I think so, because that's a lot of schools.
We have asked for additional inspectors in the past budget, and we'll ask again in the upcoming budget. We realize that the workload is significant, and we're trying to right-size the district to the number of inspectors that we have.
And under the event, this has been in the news, I'm curious about it, the Rams situation. Are we paying for public safety there? Because I know we always put firefighters in and around that stadium.
Yeah, that's a little bit off topic.
Oh, that's not a part of this report. Okay. You don't have a box for that. Next time we can have a box for that.
So I have a.
Because I would like to know, because I think with all of the new buildings and things that we have going up, that we really need to make them accountable for public safety. Somehow they need to pay more to us as a city, because we're paying more to take care of them.
Right, and I could, Commissioner, if I direct you to page 24 of the public safety section, we actually do have a pie chart that shows what percentage of the time our members are conducting event planning, third-party meetings, overcrowding, and closures. So that's that other stuff you talked about that they do. So that's outlined here on page 24 for the.
If they have to go out and check the candles on the wedding table.
Right, that's
where.
all here. That's
okay. Because I know they do things like that. It's like.
I know. Thanks. Thank you so much for the report. I just have one really quick question. The number of opt-outs on the brush. So
Right.
we're going to brush totally separate now.
Yes, ma'am.
Now we're on page 12. I just have a question. Is there a follow-up? Is there a way to ensure that those are, I mean, you guys do that.
Correct.
So, yeah, what is the protocol for following up on the opt-outs?
Great question. So using data that we looked at the last 5 years, and opt-outs continue to increase. In essence, a building or residents will say, I've either conducted my brush clearance,
But quite frankly, what we've seen is the zone has grown so large, you could be across the street from a hillside, but you are in the zone, so the customer automatically opts out. So using this GIS technology, we're able to see that, and then the fire chief can really attest to this because he went out and did the inspections with our members. But we do go on the opt-outs. We did a 3-tier inspection. The opt-outs were the last type of inspection we looked at. And I don't have the numbers in front of me.
On how many you actually inspected?
But the opt-outs, there was like, I want to say 10% comes to mind, were actually failing, maybe even less than that. So we then issued a notice to them to clear their brush. So yeah.
How do you mind explaining how did you get the information that it was 10%?
And I'm going off, it's right out of our NG brush, our next generation brush system we have all that data in our system. So we could bring a report in the future specifically to brush.
That'd be great.
To put that forward.
Just so we know, I want to make sure that people who are opting out that we're catching, I'm sure most people are honest, but making sure that things are done appropriately, and that with high fire areas. Mm-hmm. So long as that's consistent and we're tracking that as well. Because it is 73,000, so
right.
It's a lot of lots. I just want to make sure.
Right, and again, I think that you'll see next season that will shrink because we're able to use this data to recognize people who actually do not have any vegetation next to them.
Okay, and then spot checking them to see that they've actually done the work. Okay, excellent. Thank you. If you can. That's it.
Just one quick question on the you made a great point on the lost work days. I'm curious if it's possible to do a comparison to non-fire suppression bureaus there to see is our fire prevention bureau about average with everybody there? Is it a little above? Is it below? I don't know who would be able to tell us that. Would anybody be able to tell us that? Can anyone tell us that?
Firestat, maybe?
We can ask Firestat to look into that.
Okay. Great. Is that like asking Google? Thanks.
So I feel like with all of the questions from Woods Gray and from Commissioner Glazer, it sort of just points out the challenges that you have and that you've had during the time that you've been here, and just what good work you've done despite all those challenges. So thank you once again. We do have a public comment, and then we can vote on it. Sure.
I want to add my accolades to Chief Vidovich. He's done an outstanding job. As you recall, 2 years ago, there was a significant backlog across the board. We didn't have an accurate way of measuring just how bad it was. And him and his team came up with a way to do it. And you see the results before you here today. But other things that he didn't share in regard to, like Coupa. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Coupa, we're now off our performance improvement plan.
It's next.
I know.
Oh, it's coming up. Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you a preview. They did great there. And then in terms of brush technology, I did ride out with the brush inspectors. And it's an amazing tool. Nobody's doing that in the fire service. And I was interviewed and questioned a lot about it. And I could tell them with assurance that this is how it works and it's great. So we introduced that concept to local area fire departments. And there's a lot of interest for other fire departments to piggyback on what we're doing so they can achieve the same results that we are. And then in terms of the Reg 4 program, amazing program. We received an innovation grant for that, or award, I should say. And nobody else was doing that. Since we've done it, Chicago and Long Beach and many other fire departments have come on board with that same system because we went first. And it takes a little courage to go first. You're always going to take hits when you're out on point. And Chief Vidovich has consistently been out on point, not afraid to try new technology and to try new things. So he's developed a great team, and we're looking forward to continued success in the Fire Prevention Bureau because of Chief Vidovich's efforts.
Agreed. Thank you so much, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you. Not realizing Chief Vidovich. Chief. Chief Vitovich, you're not realizing that this was really your last meeting.
Well, as fire marshal.
It's what as fire marshal. Oh, okay. But I do want to thank you for the services that you provided to us in the community, because every time we've ever had a need for workshops or staffed of any kind of programs that we've needed in the community related to the fire marshal's office, Chief Vitovich has always seen that we get those things. He has great people working under him who are developing really great programs to help keep the community safe. And so for that service, I'm very appreciative, and good luck in your future.
Okay. So we have a public comment from Freddie Escobar from UFLAC.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, President Ibarra and honorable commission members. My name is Freddie Escobar, and I proudly serve as Secretary for United Firefighters of Los Angeles City, representing 3,200 members of the best firefighters, paramedics, inspectors, dispatchers in the country. I'm commenting on item 5D. I'm here this morning to comment on a few items, starting with the 16-17 budget.
So just 5D?
Yes,
So,
for now.
okay.
That's all we've heard.
Okay.
No.
You want me to go at the end?
5D has already been acted upon, so public comment, was his card submitted for 5D or 5E?
Oh, I'm sorry. It was for 5D.
Correct.
So, but okay, so you submitted it after the budget.
I believe I did before.
Okay, so why don't you recall item 5D?
Okay.
And just reopen it, move to reopen it, second.
Okay.
But okay, move to reopen 5D for public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and allow his public comment.
Okay.
And then I would
Remove
recommend
it.
you remove it.
Okay. So can we just reset it? Okay, great.
So 2 minutes for 5D, the budget.
Okay, so
Okay.
5D, Freddie Escobar from UFLAC.
Yes. Good morning again, President Ibarra and Honorable Fire Commission. My name is Freddie Escobar, and I proudly serve as Secretary for United Firefighters of Los Angeles City. Representing 3,200 of the best firefighters, dispatchers, paramedics, pilots in the country, as you heard earlier today. I'm here this morning to comment on a few items. I'm going to start with the 16-17 adopted budget. I know UFLAC has some disagreements with management, and we are never shy to speak up when we have to. I'm here to speak on this item to say that the 2016 and 17 LAFD budget is a perfect example of what we can accomplish when we work together in collaboration. The adopted budget includes an increase of tens of millions of dollars for the LAFD so that we can continue our aggressive hiring plan for the drill towers, restore previously closed engines and truck companies, replace PPEs that are no longer working, and much more. We have a lot to be proud of because City Hall is now listening to our voice as firefighters and making LAFD the top priority in the budget process. After 5 years without hiring a single firefighter, we are now hiring new firefighters and paramedics, much more, and without a non-stop clause at the end right now. This is a big change from a few years ago when we were being cut in every way possible and nobody in City Hall seemed to listen to our concerns. The only other comment that I want to make for the record is to once again express UFLAC's concern on a few years ago when we were being cut. The rapid expansion of our first response vehicle and non-practice response unit pilot program is exactly that, a pilot program. And UFLAC offered our tentative support early on.
Okay.
We're asking to meet at the table. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does he have a comment on E as well?
No.
Okay, so you need a
So
motion on D.
Okay, so move to adopt.
we need to take care of the budget. Or
I'm going to remove the item we're in.
Move it right now.
Move to adopt the recommendations for item 5D.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I think my thing was on, but
So now back to 5E because we didn't.
Oh, and we need to adopt 5E, right?
but he's going to speak.
Any
on
comment on 5E?
No?
Is it
Is that
for
on E?
5E?
Okay.
Great. All right, so I move to adopt the recommendations for item 5E.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So now 5F is report by the Department on the Professional Standards Division, action plan for implementation of out-of-state audit recommendations.
1099.
Good morning, Commissioner Ibarra, Commissioners, Fire Chief. I'm Erin
Morning.
Joyce, the Chief Special Investigator with the Professional Standards Division. And we've come back to you with our action plan on the 6 items, which were the suggestions from the independent assessors report on the out-of-statute audit that you looked at at the beginning of August. So we provided the one-page action plan on the 6 items. We gave you basically our target of how much we have completed so far, and we've given you targeted completion dates. So are there any questions I can field?
I have a couple.
Sure.
Thank you so much. This is great. It's nice to actually look at percentages and get an assessment before it's due. So you have here for recommendation number 6 to develop the mediation pilot program, and it's 10% done. You have November as the scheduled deadline. Is that a reasonable deadline? I know you're working with the city attorney's office.
Yes, I'll tell you where we're at. In
Right,
fact, we're
that'd be
meeting
great.
tomorrow morning as our second meeting with the, I think, alternate dispute resolution division of the city attorney's office.
Okay.
We've already had preliminary discussions about becoming the first in the city department to engage in this mediation program. So we, meaning me, is going to be working on an initial draft of a letter of agreement to start this program rolling. We have plenty of cases to send its way, and we're ready to move on. And we're fully committed to getting at least the letter of agreement ready to present by November, because we think that is a targeted date that we can meet.
Okay.
And we understand that program is not that they aren't all priorities, but this is one that will be a major change.
Right, and very beneficial to the department. So
Absolutely. We see it as win-win all the way along,
Absolutely.
especially when we have workplace issues, employee on employee. A proliferation of complaints in the system just creates more bad feelings and misunderstandings, whereas we can bring in a neutral to help get people talking and hopefully resolve issues that aren't going to fester.
Right, I appreciate it. And okay, so the number 5 was the installation of a new case management system and development of uniform procedures. Is there a budget for that?
Well, there is. This last year we didn't make it in, but this year we have, I think, earmarked. I think $100,000 was the suggestion. We've already talked to some different vendors. I think, in fact, we're meeting next week with Gartner about options and what's necessary, because there's agreement all around that the CTS system, which is a complaint tracking system, really isn't operable as a case management system. So we're hopeful that we're going to be able to make it into the final budget this time, especially since it was recommended by the assessor and that suggestion was adopted by this body.
Okay, so
And it's something that will make metrics much easier to come up with.
Okay, excellent.
And these recommendations would help us to not have a backlog of lost complaints.
I would hope it's going to do that. I mean, it certainly should do that. And I could say when we've been at Firestat, we're going to be going back soon, but the last time we were at Firestat, we were at just about 7% of cases that went out of statute, meaning that they weren't either resolved or charges filed with this commission within 1 year. You contrast that to last October, there were nearly 20% of the cases that went out of statute at that point. So we've already made amazing progress just, from October to, I think, May. And I think we're on target. I knock here, and that's not wood, but close enough that we're going to beat 7% this time, because we have much more hands-on handling of both the field investigations as well as the cases that are assigned to the PSD staff.
Oh, very good. That sounds good to me.
If I could add on to that, the active cases too, that number when almost 2 years ago, it was pushing 400. Now its last number I got was 174. So we've cut that in half. And I think the 4-bureau model has helped, because now they're decentralized and they can attack or aggressively pursue these investigations. And I think the team there at PSD has done a great job in building in some metrics, building in processes that will expedite the investigations. They've done great work.
And just to
Very good.
piggyback on that, before, again, you have 1 year, you still have to have time when the investigation is completed to go through the process of adjudication and going through the Skelly process, which honestly, if you don't have 2 months to do that, you're going to fall short. We're now pushing back the roll-in, which used to be a 90-day roll-in, to a 60-day roll-in. Now we're at 90-day roll-in with the understanding that we're going to go back another month, because that is something that is not, it's not a stretch such that we can't make it. We're going to be able to get there in a very short order, because we're much more on top of the front end of the investigations.
Thank you. Thank you for this. 2 questions for you on the chronologues. Firstly, can you explain what a chronologue is? And then secondly, one of my questions is, I know we're training our investigators. I'm curious as to how that relates to what goes on in the field, and if what our plan is to make sure that our folks are using them in the field who are not our trained investigators.
Okay. To comment on that, a chronologue, I guess is what you would call it. I would say we use a comment section, and it really is literally a little set of boxes. One set of boxes will be the date, and then there's an open-ended spot that you can put in comments. And the idea is to keep track as an investigator in the CTS system what is going on, a status of the case, major events. Not every time you send an email and you didn't get a response, or phone calls, but the significant phone calls, the significant correspondence, the dates set for investigative interviews, things like that.
And it's in chronological order. Is that why you call it a chronologue?
And that's what it is. The idea is to capture in real time what is going on in the case. So that way the supervisors or anyone looking into the CTS system can see that something's happening on the case. I mean, I'm a very big proponent of touching files on a regular basis. And the way you document that is by maintaining I would say the cron log, or what we use is the comment section, because it's the most usable part of the CTS system for the investigators to maintain, basically records of what they're doing on the case. We're a big far away from where it was before, because previously investigators would use a 3-ring binder and maintain all of their information as they were working their cases on their own. So no one outside could really have a glimpse into what was going on in the case. So we're already really making it much more transparent and documented all the steps along the way.
That's great. And are we helping our field folks to also be diligent about that as well?
We are working with, again, we've embedded investigators both in the South Bureau and also in the West Bureau. We're working on partnering in the other bureaus so that we can have PSD investigators that go out weekly and work with the field investigators assigned to investigations in the field, so that we have certainly a more streamlined process for field investigations, which makes sense because these cases are supposed to be completed in 90 days. They're much smaller level cases. They should be. But again, they have access also to CTS, to that comment section. And so by having that partnership, the captains or whoever's out in the field handling 1 or 2 investigations will have that partnership. And we've already seen much better use of both the comment section out in the field and also the report writing in the field.
It's maybe what we save on 3-ring binder purchases we can pay for our CTS upgrade system with.
I think we're going to be actually, documenting information really saves money in the long run, because you have much more solid investigation.
I completely agree, and I very much appreciate the effort there. It's I know these are small points, but they're really important. Thank you.
And thanks a lot for all your work since you've been on board. I think since it's only been like 6 months, right?
Since March 21st.
Oh, wow. That's very good.
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you.
How many investigators do you have working with you?
How many investigators? We have, I think right now we have 4 sworn captains that are investigators, and then we're in the flux with respect to investigators because we have several positions open right now or are going to be open. So let me see. I would have to count. I wish I'd put that together. I would say less than 12, and then plus the sworn.
Okay. And on an average, do you may not know this, but how many cases are there per investigators on
I could tell you right now, the caseloads are right now very wildly. we have certain investigators that are overwhelmed because they have cases that are big cases that are maybe have like criminal cases with statutes approaching and other cases coming up. And then we have some investigators right now that we've been able to free up that have very, very low caseloads. That's going to change a lot because, again, we'll have some, major shifts in personnel coming. So some people that have very lighter caseloads right now are going to be taking on more. The point is that we have to stay on top of cases at the front end so that they don't languish. The people that have low caseloads, they should be moving those cases even more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're working on really, when we have a little bit of breathing room now, the training to make sure all of our investigators are fully trained and we have very quality investigations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we have a public comment. Yes, it's okay. So we have a public comment from Freddie Escobar from UFLAC.
Good morning, Freddie Escobar from UFLAC, United Firefighters of Los Angeles, once again to speak on the issue related to professional standard vision of the LAFD. The independent assessor made 6 recommendations in her action plan for recommendations to PSD. UFLAC has offered tentative support on these recommendations. Per the Chief's board report, most of the formal responses and detailed plans to implement the independent assessor's recommendations are still forthcoming from our administration. UFLAC would just like to state once again for the record that we want to be at the table with the chief as he finalizes his detailed plans. UFLAC knows and supports the recommendations to change our discipline system to make it more educational in nature and not so focused on being punitive. UFLAC knows that we are moving in the right direction on these issues. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, move to receive and file item 5F.
Second.
Aye.
5G is a report by the department on the agreement with Brycer LLC for continued implementation of proprietary software, ETC.
Good morning, Commissioners, Fire Chief, City Attorney. My name is Bill Jones. I'm a Senior Management Analyst with the ASB Bureau, Administrative Services Bureau. I oversee contract grants and EMS billing. Before you today is a contract for the period of approximately 1 year with Brycer LLC. Brycer LLC provides a software as a service solution to the fire department's Regulation 4 code. This solution allows city occupants to contract with vendors to come in, do their inspections, and report directly to the fire department the status of their inspections. Are there any questions?
Well, I noticed that, is this a local company?
Commissioner, this is not a local company. This company is located out of Illinois. However, I would argue that though the company offers a software solution that is located in Illinois, the people performing the inspection and the businesses that are paying for those services are local. And so the dollars that are generated are likely to stay within the local area.
Oh, that's good. So they hire people here.
Correct.
Oh, that's great. See, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, move to adopt the recommendation on item 5G.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 5H is report by the department on the Coupa evaluation feedback for August 2016.
Good morning, Chief, Commissioners, City Attorney. My name is Roy Song. I'm the Coupa Program Manager for Los Angeles Fire Department. This morning I'll be addressing the Coupa program, specifically the status of the Program Improvement Agreement, an update on our inspection activity, and lastly, an issue with the education level of our Coupa inspectors. So as far as the Coupa update, as you're all aware, the LFD Coupa program was evaluated in July 2014 and was subsequently issued a Program Improvement Agreement because we received 19 deficiencies. Well, as announced by the Chief Idovich and also the Fire Chief, the Coupa is no longer on a PAA, and the program is now considered satisfactory, which is excellent news for the Coupa. This also paves the ways for us to demonstrate the competency of the Cooper program. We have a very strong program and strong leadership, and I think we'll do well going forward. As of the last state response on August 24th, there are 11 deficiencies that have been identified as being corrected by the state. And last week, the Water Board agreed to retroactively correct another deficiency on overdue UST inspections, underground storage tanks. And so that leaves 7 deficiencies needing correction. We have issues with the Water Board deficiencies. It's really that issues across the state. It's not specific to LAFD. So we have 5 UST deficiencies still pending. We have met with Jim Bohan, Kelly EPA, and John Payne, the manager for the unit over there, and discussed that. And so that's being talked about at a higher level, but also across the state. So it's not specific to LAFD. So the remaining deficiencies, we have one for business submittals and SIRS, and that's going to take time. We have over 7,000 businesses that we have to get into the state portal for reporting their hazardous materials. And we have a little under 2,000 businesses that haven't submitted yet in SIRS. We did send a reminder notice out and notice of violation to all of those sites about a month ago, actually, and had a big response out of that. So that number will be picking up very quickly. I mentioned the UST deficiencies. We have 5 of those, and that's really more about inspection quality and one on our permits, which we'll be fixing up, which is going in on October 1st. And the last deficiency is our PA evaluation process. Even though we've corrected that, they want to see a final report before they close that deficiency out. The next Cooper evaluation has been announced for us. It's coming up in January 2017. So we're going to be pretty busy over the next few months here preparing for that. But I feel like the evaluation is going to go a lot better than in the past. Of course, we're still going to have deficiencies, and that's their job, really, to come in and find stuff and continually improve our program. So, we started at the bottom, we've come up to here, now they're going to pick us up from here and take us to another level. So, so I wouldn't be too discouraged if we see deficiency. Every Cooper gets them. On the overdue inspections, during the last 2 commission updates, I reported we had identified 3,200 hazmat inspections, which are overdue. And since that time, we've done 3,150 hazmat inspections. Not all of those were the overdue ones, because we still had other inspections that were coming due, and so we had to keep on target with that. So we still have a little less than 1,000 hazmat inspections to catch up, and I would say by the end of the year that we should be caught up there. And of the overdue USTs, we only have about 60 left, so that's awesome. From a few months ago, we had over 400, and they take a long time to get through those inspections. On the education requirements for Cooper inspections, for the Cooper inspectors. So recently it was brought to the attention of the Fire Marshal that some of the fire inspectors assigned to the Cooper program may not meet minimum education requirements under Health and Safety Code to be Cooper inspectors. The code allows a pass for relaxation for inspectors with program experience. However, new inspectors will have to meet all of the requirements, and that's a challenge that we're going to have to meet as a program. For the existing inspectors in the program that do not meet the requirements, we're exploring options to provide them with the education that they need. I've confirmed this is an issue with our oversight agency, which is Cal EPA, and we're expecting to see this as another Cooper program deficiency in the forthcoming evaluation of our program in January. So on August 24th, we also received a letter from Cal EPA saying that the issue would be addressed in our next evaluation, and we would have some time to correct the deficiency, and typically it's about 12 months. To resolve the issue, an MOU is being negotiated to incentivize those who meet the requirements, the education requirements, to support those members needing to accumulate more credit hours to meet the education requirement, and that which in the end will help with program retention, which ultimately was our biggest problem for the Cooper program. And just lastly, I want to publicly thank the Fire Chief and Chief Vidovich for all their support of the Cooper program. I received daily guidance from Chief Vidovich over the past 6 months of my tenure, and I consider him a fearless leader, a visionary, and man of honesty and integrity. During my interview for the position as Cooper manager, Chief Vidovich talked about integrity and accountability when dealing with our PIA, and this is one of the reasons I accepted the position, because I also share those values. Change also brings new ideas, innovation, and energy The entire Cooper team is ready to serve under the strong leadership of Fire Marshal Chief Crowley and Assistant Fire Marshal Chief Harvey. In the few interactions we have had with Chief Crowley and Chief Harvey, it's very clear the Fire Chief has the right leadership in place to ensure the success of the Bureau going forward. Lastly, Chief Idovich, on behalf of the Cooper, we thank you for your unfaltering support, the confidence you inspire in all the staff, and we wish you all the very best in your future endeavours. Thank you, Chief. That's the end of the Cooper update, unless you have any questions.
Oh, what? I just wanted to find out who is going to do the educational program to bring the inspectors up today.
I can answer that. We're currently we have a tentative agreement in our MOU, and you'll have to go to a state college or university. Any approved courses that meet the state requirement will count. So it'll be instructed by college professors.
So which colleges provide that training?
Excuse me?
Which colleges or universities provide that training?
Several do. I don't have the exact curriculum that's required, but any college that's authorized to and credentialed, we will accept as long as it meets the state criteria.
And do we pay for that?
We are going to pay for that out of our event funds, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
How many don't have, or do you know what percent don't have?
I would say about 2/3 are probably going to be close to okay. And about
2/3 are going to be okay.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Yeah. I'm still getting transcripts, and it's a long process to get these, and a lot of the guys haven't had transcripts in their hands for decades, so they're reaching out to other colleges trying to get that. And once we get that, then we can look through it and see what meets the requirement, what doesn't.
Okay. All right.
This is the first time since we've been on the commission where we haven't been in the red with Cali, PA, with Coupa. So this is like a major achievement and so thank you also for your hard work since you've been here.
Thank you.
Yeah, but just also wanted to echo this is a big achievement, and congratulations to you and Chief Idovich and Chief Terrazas for taking us in. As you know, I still remember my very first commission meeting. This was what was in the binder that.
Yeah, first or second, and it was shocking.
Really, and I was really trying to understand it then, but I understand it now. Yeah. And I know how hard this is to do. I remain concerned about the ability to fully staff and the retention. And I know that's something you will continue to report on, I'm sure, because I imagine it's going to remain of great interest to the state that we have folks who have the right education in place. And I'm hoping that the incentives work. If they don't work, then I imagine we'll be here discussing a plan B for what we do in that case. But again, great work on this. This is a big achievement on the part of you and Chief Idovich and your teams. So congratulations on this.
Thank you very much.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Move to adopt the recommendation for item 5H.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So 5I is a report by the Fire Commissioners Glazier and Nimberg relative to the status of possible changes to the LAFD youth programs.
Okay, thank you. I feel like this should be reversed and you guys could all ask me questions now, but I'm not going to do that. But thank you. It'd be super awkward. For some time now, I think as many of you know, my day job is when I'm not here, that is working with the youth development program. So the youth development work that this department does is very near and dear to my heart, and I know also for Commissioner Nimberg. And so, over the last 18 months, I've tried to put a little more focus on this. I've been out to visit some of the cadet programs. I've been out to see the youth. One of the Youth Fire Academy graduation, and seen some other aspects of our program. And what really has struck me is that this youth program represents an incredible opportunity for our department. And not just as a way to build a diverse pipeline into our department, that it does, but I think at least equally, if not more importantly, it's an opportunity for us to invest in the youth of our community. And I think particularly when we look at the times that we live in now and the issues that we see, investment in our communities, particularly our communities of color, communities of poverty, is more important than ever. And we have this incredible brand equity here at this department where everyone loves a firefighter, and which is great because we start with a leg up there. We start with kids looking up to you. And we have an opportunity to bring the values that we hold dear as a department and instill those in youth in our community. And at the same time, we're also able to build community resiliency up and provide skills that will support our community in the event of a major natural disaster. So for all those reasons, to me, it is past time that we look at this as an integral part of our department and we invest in it at the level that's going to bring it to become the high-functioning program that it needs to be. We have invested in it in a patchwork way in the past. So we have the beginnings of a great magnet program. Excited about that. We have pockets of excellence in our cadet program. We have excellence in our youth fire academy. So there are good things happening in different places, but the problem is a couple of things. One is that they depend on the goodwill of volunteers, and when volunteers are on platoon duty, and they can be transferred, or they rightly look for promotional opportunities, we lose those committed volunteers, and there are not always folks willing or able to step up behind them. And so I have seen firsthand good programs that started in one place, were very well regarded, and then die a slow death as the volunteers move out and go to other places. The fact that folks have to beg, borrow, and steal to get equipment, not steal, beg and borrow, to provide what they need to the youth, that's an issue. The fact that there is such wide variation in quality. So when our cadets want to go and do a ride along, the captain at the station has to agree to that. And for some cadet posts, they say, "Oh yeah, great, they can come." And for other posts, like, I don't know. I don't know anything about that post. That's an issue. And lastly, when I do my work in my program, what I look for is intentionality in terms of design. We need to be intentional about how we design our programs, and they need to connect. So the cadet program should be central to our youth programs because it is something that carries through on weekends and summertime. If you start in a youth fire academy or you start in a magnet, those should be feeders into a cadet program that then carries them through for a multitude of years. And at the end of that cadet program, whenever that child leaves that cadet program, if all they do is leave instilled with the values of this department of spirit and courage and spirit, all the stuff in spirit, if they leave with that stuff, we've done a great thing. And we have prepared a bunch of young people to be active citizens and give them skills. But we have to design the program with those goals in mind. And so that's why when Commissioner Nimberg and I talked about it, we landed on these goals in the recommendations in this report. So what we're asking for here is that there be a really comprehensive review and a redesign where necessary to ensure that all the components of the program are working together as they are supposed to. They connect to each other, and that we're really fully living the values and the goals in here about investing in our community, providing service, supporting community resiliency, disaster preparedness, and yes, introducing the youth of our city to a career in fire and EMS, and providing that long-term mentorship that many of our members have gotten, but many more of folks in this city don't get, but could use and would prepare them for this career. Additionally, since we're talking about children here, and we're talking about a far-flung program, ideally that's spread over multiple posts across the city, we need standardization. And standardization, in my experience, means that things are written down, and that there is a formal training program around what and how we do it. so I've asked for that to be part of it. I've also Commissioner Nimberg and I are also talking. We talked extensively about the idea of setting some goals for participation. One of those goals is that participants come from the city of, or within the boundaries of LAUSD, since our department bleeds across some city lines. But we want to be focused on the folks who live in the areas that we serve. It's the tax dollars of the citizens of Los Angeles. It should be the benefit to the citizens of Los Angeles first and foremost. I also think it's important, or we think it's important, to set goals around diversity, specifically with a 30% participation of girls, and then generally reflecting the diversity of the city of Los Angeles. Setting written learning objectives, written curricula, but also making sure that we have equal parts of leadership development, professional skills, and actual manipulative skills related to the fire service. That's what makes a well-rounded program, and that's what really truly investing in our youth means. I also think it's important that we designate locations. So right now, if a post is going to happen, it happens because someone at that firehouse says, I'm going to support a cadet post, right? Now, it depends also on whether or not everybody else in that firehouse wants to have a cadet post. So the unfortunate reality is here, you could have the most motivated person in the world, and if the rest of the crew doesn't really know why these kids are hanging around, it ain't going to happen. And so part of what we need to do is try to establish that we have posts. This is what happens here, and if you transfer or you are assigned to this firehouse, there's going to be a cadet post, and you better like it if you're gonna stay there and you're gonna support it. And if you don't want that, great. We've got 75 other potential assignments for you that where you don't have to deal with a cadet post. But if you're at this place with a cadet post, then you're going to support it. And there needs to be some central training. And I think our bureau setup puts us in a great position to start thinking about how we begin to centralize and standardize aspects of our program. And there's different ways to do it. And we can look at the county, we can look at some of our own ideas, we can look at how PD does it. But having that standardized basic training happening and then continuing what's going on in the field, I think that's what we should be thinking about. I would also, Commissioner Nimberg and I also talked about the importance of having a civilian coordinator who will be a partner to our sworn staff. Having the sworn voice in a program that is developing future firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics is, of course, critically important. But we need a remedy for this fact that when our members come through on special duty, and it is a special duty assignment, they are there for 2 years, and then there's a great chance they're going to move on at that point, and we lose the institutional knowledge along the way. Likewise, our members may be very committed, but they do not bring a lifetime of experience typically in youth development, which is a really specialized thing to know and understand, is how you deal with youth, and how you inspire youth and how you recruit youth. So we believe it's critically important that we have that civilian at a special projects core, senior special projects coordinator, minimum level position, who's going to be a permanent placement there. Particularly when we're talking about working with LA Unified, which in the Magnet program, we're only growing that relationship. We have this huge opportunity through something called Linked Learning. And Linked Learning actually has funding out there available to support programs that prepare youth for careers. And if we're preparing our youth in our magnets for careers, specifically, if we give every one of our magnet students an EMT certificate before they graduate, and LAUSD has EMT trainers, because I got my EMT from LAUSD a long time ago. It's $90, and if we have a partnership with LAUSD, they're able to come in and provide that certificate. So when our youth graduate our magnet program, they immediately can walk out the door with their diploma, assuming they're 18, and go get a job as an EMT, which can become a career and an entry point into the department, or it can become a way to pay for college while they're going through school. That's a huge deal for us. It's a huge deal for our city. It's a huge deal for our youth to be able to give them a job skill. They walk out the door on graduation, and they don't need to do anything else except take that certificate with them and walk in and apply for employment. I understand. The next piece here is, I think, the mayor had passed an Executive Directive 15, which talks about hiring youth. and within that is a train to hire program. And this is something we need to work with our labor partners on, and I really sincerely hope that our labor partners will be willing to think about this, and I believe they will because many of them came out of this cadet program. But the best thing I could see is that if you have youth who are coming through our program and being mentored and they stick with that program, they have an opportunity to come into a train the hire program, whereas potentially they get their EMT certificate through our cadet program, and maybe they're serving 2 years as an apprentice within our department as EMTs, whether third on a rescue or wherever else, and they're supplementing our resources. And then if after 2 years they've done a great job, we can give them a direct path into this department. It is legal. It is done by other people. We can do this, but it requires consultation with the city attorney, consultation and partnership with our labor partners, and it requires some will on our end to say, yeah, look, this is something we want to try to promote. Because if we can do that, we have this opportunity now to start filling at least portions of our classes with individuals who we already know they're going to be successful because we've mentored them through this program, and we're able to mentor them through in parts of the city, targeted parts of the city that are going to inherently bring some diversity with them. I know there's budget implications for all this. I've, not my first rodeo. So, I know that's going to be something we're going to need to come up with. I do believe, though, that if we are able to build a really strong and sustainable program, fundraising will become easier for us to go to corporations with a program that is really well thought out with individuals who are committed. And I think there are folks out there who want to fund this kind of thing. And I know they already do, and I think we can grow that funding. I'd like to move on a relatively quick timeline. I think both Commissioner Nimberg and I are anxious to see this move forward. So we're asking that this commission get a report back every 60 days between now and July 1, which is when we hope to see a new program launch. I'd like to request from the president that Commissioner Nimberg and I be appointed as a subcommittee to work with the folks who are to continue to develop this. And I know that our budget development is happening now, so I'd like to make sure that this be considered in there. So I have spoken for a long time and gone through a number of aspects here. I'd like to toss it over to Commissioner Nimberg in case you have any additional comments on this. And any questions that you might have. I understand this is change for us as a department and thinking differently about this program. But I know there's a lot of people who are already really committed to this. And I also really want to thank the folks out in the field and centrally who put the energy into making the program thus far what it is. And I know for them, this is something that is overdue for us to think about how we do this and how we move this forward. Thank you for your listening to this, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you've got any. I'm going to ask for your support on this report. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to just commend you for tying it all together, because from the first time I came on this commission, we talked about cadets and magnets and all these kinds of things. Actually, to see that many of those, like the chief wasn't even here when we were talking about the New York schools and whatever was going on, and he's put those in place. I think that's really great. But I'm really happy to hear that you're trying to tie them together. And I always did think of them, while there are other benefits, as a diversity piece, because for me, diversity is a really important issue, as it is to all of us, but somehow, Anyway, it is a very important issue, not only for women, but for people of color, because, we're losing a lot of our people, African Americans in particular, and so we have to try to figure out how we're going to shore up the fire department so that one day it's not colorless. So I really think this is a great suggestion, idea. I totally support the idea because I've always thought we needed a structured cadet program where everybody's teaching the same thing throughout the whole city. And then your idea about the EMT training, that would be really fabulous. So I would totally support this measure, and I'm not sure. Do we need to have a motion here or something, or what?
We just move the report. So I'd ask somebody else could move the report since it's my report. But it's like voting for yourself, I guess. And I want to thank the commission for the support. I think I wanted to elevate this, and I know Commissioner Nimberg, I'm speaking for you, but I believe we both wish to elevate this to the commission level because it's important for us as a commission. I'd like it to be important for us as a commission to say this is what we're trying to do, and yes, this is important enough for us to adopt the goals here. So I do ask for a motion and support.
So, well, before the motion, I just want to say that I think this is really important. There are a lot of efforts that have gone on in this department historically. There's new efforts now with the magnet programs, and we really do need something that is formalized, and also we need to find funds for it. So, so I support this. This is something that we need to do, and we need to make sure that the department is committed to it, and that there's official action showing that it's committed to it, because people are already doing it, and they should get the support from the highest levels of the department.
Likewise, I think it's really terrific what you and Rebecca did, Andrew, and I fully support it. I'm going to be meeting with Community Benefit at Kaiser in regard to the Nurse Practitioner Response Unit, but honestly, their commitment to diversity and the community, after all, they have money for the community benefit, and I can't think of any greater community benefit that the LAFD can provide than what you're suggesting. So I'm in the process already of talking to the community benefit folks at Kaiser, Southern California, and so I honestly think this is really terrific. So actually, as a result, I'm going to recommend that the board approve the report and your recommendations.
A second. Is that
So you're moving?
Were you making a motion? I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So moving on to the last item, 5J's verbal report by the department on the quarterly fire stat trend analysis.
Good morning, Commissioners, Madam President, Chief Terrazas, Ms. Radfish, Ms. Martinez. My name is Battalion Chief Jamie Moore. I'm the section commander for the Fire Stat section, and alongside me is the Fire Stat manager, Drew Steinberg. As you've heard this morning through many of the reports, our performance management model is extremely effective, and it's allowing us to really take a good look at the Los Angeles Fire Department, and that's thanks to the support of the fire chief, his chief deputies, and all the bureau commanders who've supported Fire Stat section in analyzing the various both emergency ops and administrative sections of the Los Angeles Fire Department. Both Drew and I are here to give you a verbal report for this quarter with regards to the Fire Stat section. The current trend shows that there is a continued increase in the number of calls that are received for service by the Los Angeles Fire Department. In an effort to be proactive in addressing some of these calls, we're working with all 4 bureaus in order to address the top automatic alarms and EMS super users in each of the battalions. This proactive approach of meeting with building owners and occupants, as well as incorporating healthcare professionals, is allowing us an opportunity to firsthand reduce the number of calls in some of our districts. The Fire Stat section is in the process of developing a new tiered Fire Stat inspection procedure. The goal of the new tiered Fire Stat procedure is to expand the department's engagement on all levels so that we can establish a performance management process that seeks to utilize the wisdom of our members and to put forth best practice efforts. The tiered inspection meetings will allow the fire chief's message to get all the way down to the tailboard firefighter, and the inspection meetings are through the department will be meeting the department's goals, identifying the concerns of each of the sections, and creating plans for improvement in order to address those identified areas that we've discussed.
Hello, Drew Steinberg, Fire Stat Manager. So I'll give you a status update on where we are with emergency operations in the admin sections as far as the Fire Stat meetings. So first, for the emergency operations, we have been meeting with the 4 geographic bureaus. They have reviewed data from Q1 2016, and 2 of the 3 platoons have completed their review of Q2 data for 2016. The Q3 review will commence at the end of this calendar year, and Q4 will happen in the new tiered Fire Stat process beginning in 2017. For admin sections, we have been completed the first round of their inspection meetings. They happened around April and May, and the second round of meetings will be occurring in October. Those sections that will be going through the process are Fire Prevention Bureau, Metro Fire Communications, Disaster Response Section, Risk Management Section, Professional Standards Section, Supply and Maintenance, and Training Services Bureau. Additionally, we wanted to let you know about a new metric that we have been working on called the Operational Response Time Metric. Starting in 2016, the metric will be added to the public-facing website. Operational response time is the time from when a dispatcher receives a call to when the first unit arrives on scene. So basically a compilation of call processing time, turnout time, and travel time. The following categories will be analyzed in the operational response time metric, EMS and non-EMS as currently analyzed, in addition to critical ALS, which is immediate dispatch, and structure fires. With that, if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
5J. We have 2 public comments. I don't know if they're still here. First one is Alfred Hernandez.
Good morning. My name's Al Hernandez. I'm a retired member of the department. I'm here to comment on the Los Angeles Times article on the removal of Fire Marshal John Vidovich. I'm actually, I had to change this a little bit because I heard the accolades that he received from this board and the fire chief regarding his performance over the last couple of years. And I'm glad to hear that. It would have been a lot nicer to hear that or been able to read that in the article. I would like to state for the record that if you read that article, you would be under the impression that Chief Vidovich was responsible for inspections not being done. I think that's not true. And the reason I say that's not true is because I said I was a member, but I was an inspector, I was a captain, I was a battalion chief, and I was assistant chief in that bureau. I have a long history and knowledge of how that bureau operates. And what I can tell you is that it has a long history of not doing its work. I brought a report that was given to me that was done in 2003 by Chief Vidovich. It's an audit of the high-rise unit. And you'll see that that performance has not changed over the years. Maybe it has now that he's focused in on those numbers. You know, I want to answer one of the questions that was brought up today. Why did an inspector only get 2 inspections done in a month? Well, the Fire Prevention Bureau's had a long history. The officers in the Bureau have had a long history of turning a blind eye. It's easier to turn a blind eye and not affect the reputation of 90% of the Bureau than to focus in on the 10% that are not doing their job. And I think it's at this point that it's time to focus in on that 10%. PSD needs to be the person going after that person that's not doing their work. And if you allow me to finish, I think you might get to my point. My point is, nothing has changed over the years. I have the perspective from being there back in 1982. And I was last assigned to that bureau in 2005. And I'm here to support. Actually, I heard Steve Rueda say something to the group that came up to be honored for their actions they took. I'm here. I heard the term he used was he wanted to rally, and I'm here to rally behind Chief Vidovich. I think he's done a good job, and I hope that the department comes out from just this room and steps forward and puts out something that vindicates his career, because they just thrown 35 years of it down the toilet.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for your comments. We have another comment from Mr. Is it Matthew Gatewood?
Yes.
Matthew Gatewood. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam President, honored members of the board, Chief Terrazas, Attorney Ratfish, the executive staff of the department, and people of Los Angeles, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I come to you today representing the Fire Prevention and Public Safety Bureau Research and Fire Marshal staff. It is our understanding that this is Chief Deputy's final Fire Commission meeting. We felt it important that the board hear firsthand how his staff feels about Chief Vidovich and his untimely and unwarranted departure. I'm embarrassed by my union, Local 112's actions and involvement in this act. Earlier today, Chief Vidovich was honored at a breakfast and presented a Career Achievement Award. Why a Career Achievement Award? Because what he's done in the last 18 months, it will take someone an entire career to do. Characteristics that warrant an award: trust, opportunity, vision, innovation, compassion, leadership, mentorship, partnership. Trust. Trust in the people that work for him and their abilities. Opportunity. The opportunity to work in the most significant office in the department, and I, as an African American male, females, Hispanics, Asians, and Caucasians were all involved in it. Vision. The potential of the Fire Prevention Bureau, impact it has on the entire city. Innovation. Business sense. Chief has a great deal of business sense. His ability to establish partnerships never before established. His commitment to efficiency. His compassion. A unanimous belief that he truly cares about his staff and their success. Leadership. The professionalism you display throughout this entire ordeal. The examples you set for the upcoming fire marshals. The unbelievable knowledge base you have on the department. Your involvement in each and every aspect of the Bureau. His mentorship. His guidance and assistance with career development of all members of the Fire Prevention Bureau. His availability. Just a few moments more. His availability. His interest in the personal success of each individual. His ability to detect talents and utilize them for the betterment of the department and the members. Lastly is his partnership. That's what it's called in the professional realm, but in the Fire Prevention Bureau Research Lab, we call it a friendship. From the moment I met Chief Vidovich in Fire Station 85, he's established an environment of shared success. He has managed through a strategy of universal involvement. I've always felt and held a position under his command of relevance. Though obviously present that he is in charge, I've never felt like it was a subordinate supervisor scenario or relationship. As we move through our remaining careers, I pray that I develop an environment such as this with my personnel. We support our fire chief. We support the upcoming fire marshal. We thank him both personally and professionally for all that he's done for us as individuals and for the department. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.